Want dis ons land, dis ons taal, en sonder soek kan ons gaan stories haal. Waar we lewe in die tuine, hoog gebou uit sand, die helde sier en die goue straat. Die landskap wat oor generasies vertel, die harte wat in ritme met die golwe val. Ons land, ons taal.
Hallo en welkom by Kletskompas. Dit is donderdag, die 25ste Augustus. Nou ja, môre vier Namibië Heldedag. En dis hoekom hierdie Kletskompas baie spesiaal is, want in hierdie program gaan ons 3 Namibiese korporatiewe helde vier. Ons praat van Bank Windhoek, Namib Mills en plastic packaging. Hulle word vanjaar in Augustus van DSmaand 40 jaar oud en ons is so bevoorreg om met hulle topbestuur te kan gesels. Hierdie is Namibiese groepe wat al vir 40 jaar en elke dag vir die onafhanklikheid en die vryheid van die Namibiese ekonomie veg. Bly ingeskakel. A warm welcome to Ian Collard. He is the Chief Executive Officer, or CEO, as we know, of Namib Mills. Thank you very much for joining us, and happy birthday, I believe.
Thanks, Jo-Marie, and nice to be here.
Ian, it is impossible to capture 40 years in the time that we have here, but a few highlights of the achievement of Namib Mills in the past 4 decades.
As we heard in the beginning that 1982 must have been a fruitful year for Namibia in itself, with the 3 companies that are still here after 40 years. So we started with humble beginnings, only a maize mill in the northern parts of Windhoek, which was at that stage nearly outside of Windhoek. So from a maize mill we expanded to a animal feed plant. The reason for that is that there's an offal product coming from maize milling, and that had to be utilized in animal feeds. So Feedmaster, our subsidiary or sister company actually, started around about that time also. We expanded to wheat mill, and the wheat mill was actually giving us a lot of traction, and by becoming, let's say, a bigger company that people started to take serious. Through that, we then said that we would like to build a basket of products, and basically in the basic food stuffs for Namibia. And I think to a certain extent the company played a big role of trying to make Namibia supplying all of the basic foodstuffs. So today the milling industry is much bigger than us alone, and we can proudly say that from the maize meal as well as the wheat flour side, we are totally self-sufficient. We're not self-sufficient on the production side yet, but on the milling of that product and the end product, we are self-sufficient. So we expanded to sugar. We're milling a bit of mahangu and doing a bit of rice. And the next big thing that we are also involved in, we started as late as 2012, we also moved into the protein value chain. So we started with Namib Poultry Industries. We are not there yet with regards to being self-sufficient, but I think in a few years the country will be. With pasta, another good story, maybe the best story, that was started in 2002. What happens with pasta is it's actually a derivative or product that you make from wheat flour. So we started expanding in pasta, and it was just a good story for us, and I think also the country to a certain extent, because through manufacturing industry protection, IIP, we actually started the industry, and today we are exporting pasta to South Africa.
Wow.
So that in itself is a nice story to see a full truck going back to South Africa. So in that, I think the thing that we can say we are the proudest of is maybe the pasta. The thing that was the most difficult, I would say, was the chickens.
The chicken indeed. And that brings me to my next question, and probably one I'm going to ask to our other guests too. But we've especially seen it with the chicken. Local manufacturers or groups have to fight against huge markets to retain a market share in their country of origin. How difficult is it, and what do you make, or what do you do to make sure that you hold your ground?
Doing business in Namibia is always kind of difficult because, yes, we don't have a very high rainfall. So from an agricultural perspective, the production capacity is being hampered by the lack of rain. But on the other side, we also don't have a local market here. So because we only have 2.5 million people, especially on the food side. So if you only have that, then for a local company, it's always difficult to unlock economies of scale. So you've got an inability to do it. To a certain extent with pasta, we surpassed that problem in the fact that we are exporting it to, let's say, a bigger economy, which is South Africa. But in that, we as a country, if we would like to become a regional player, then the country must be competitive in the region. So to be competitive in the region, the cost of business plays a very big role, and that includes the tax rates, the cost of inputs like electricity and water, fuel, your labor market and so forth. Fuel is more, let's say, related to our neighboring countries, but I think with some other input costs, specifically referring to water being scarce and also being distributed to a small community over a very big area, because Namibia is about 70% the size of, let's say, South Africa, but with less than 4% of the population. So that, in a sense, is making it difficult, and also making it difficult doing business in the country, because as long as you compete against somebody from outside, the importer will always take the best price in the world and bring it here and compare it with your price. Because I've never seen a person buying something for the same quality willing to pay more in the international market. So immediately, being a small economy, but if you compete against the imported product, you're immediately competing against the best price in the world. So that's making it, for I think a lot of businesses in Namibia, difficult.
Ian, the role of manufacturing in Namibia, that still, although there is some development, it remains quite a tender spot in the economy. But for the manufacturing sector to develop, there's also a need for the consumer to support local products, hence the growth at home strategy. How important is it that the Namibian consumer understands the importance of buying local?
It's very important in the sense that to to a certain extent, you must make the consumer understand the long-term objective. And the long-term objective can actually be described in one sentence, is that everything that's locally produced equates to somebody that you give a job locally and not a work permit to somebody else. Now, we know all about work permits, that we say there's all those measures trying to give work to local people. But if you import something, you're in essence giving a job to somebody not living in Namibia, not a Namibian. So if we are buying local, over a period of time, the job creation will move upwards.
Ian, just as a final conclusion, what is your message to Namibians who have supported the group over the years?
The customer is the most important person in our lives, so everybody at Namib Mills directly actually works for the customer. So with that in mind, we would like to thank all our customers and fellow Namibians for being there for us, buying our products, and us being able to do business in this country. For the future, we would like to continue with what we're busy with, and in over a period of time, we would like to give a better and sustainable solution to fellow Namibians with regards to access to basic foodstuffs.
Ian, thank you very much. We wish Namib Mills a very happy birthday and the best for the future. That was Ian Collard, the CEO of Namib Mills. Baroness Hans, Managing Director of Bank Windhoek, with us in the studio because also Bank Windhoek, 40 years old and a truly proud Namibian bank. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Joe. It's an honor to be here. And as you rightfully say, yes, what an achievement. 40 years, and life begins at 40, they say.
So they say, it's
Yes.
the roaring 40s.
Yes.
So you guys are going to come up with a lot of interesting stuff, I hope. A little bit of personal perspective from my side. I grew up with the whole development of Bank Windhoek because it was first Trust Bank and the whole, and my parents both worked for a trust bank, and they had these red carpets, and I remember sleeping on the floor there while they were working at night. So always been very close to Bank Windhoek, but it couldn't have been an easy ride to decide we want a Namibian bank.
No, Joe Marie, it was definitely not. And I think the journey of starting a bank in a very competitive industry was very difficult. But the entrepreneurs that started this journey, and as you rightfully said, it started out with the withdrawal of South African banks and the foresight of Namibians at that point in time to take this bank and to create a homegrown Namibian bank. And it was a very difficult journey. As Ian has also said, from very humble beginnings, this bank was forged. Our first branch was in Karasburg,
Really?
Yes, we started in Karasburg, so that's an indication of where it came from, where we came from. But absolutely, it was the tenacity, the dream, the just holding on to your dream, dreaming big, the ethos of doing business with Namibians, for Namibians, that got us this far. So absolutely coming from very difficult beginnings, but believing in the possibility of being able to compete head-on with large players from South Africa.
Indeed, very large players. We've got 3 of the big players in South Africa that you guys were up against. Of course, nowadays, some of them partially Namibianized. But Baronies, the Bank Windhoek didn't just remain Bank Windhoek. It expanded into a giant called Capricorn. That is a journey in itself.
That is correct. So with our listing, when we became Bank Windhoek Holdings, we then were listed, and subsequently we also incorporated our other 2 banks into the Namibian group, which was then rebranded as the Capricorn Group. As it stands today, we are not only a banking group, we have financial services that include term lending, we have various other investments in adjacent industries such as our investment in Paratas, in other financial services. So yes, it has been a journey of really having courage, the courage to see opportunity and the courage to close deals. And I think something that all Namibians can be proud of.
Also, you didn't limit yourself to Namibia. You've actually expanded into neighboring countries.
Correct. Capricorn Group owns a bank at this point in time in Botswana, known as Bank Gaborone, which is doing very well. And that's our expansion at this point in time. We also have offices in South Africa, but currently the majority of our biggest investments are in Namibia.
Baronies, especially when it comes to the financial services industry, innovation is key and must happen at a tremendous pace.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your investment in that.
Yes, you're absolutely right. The convergence of banks towards a more digital operation is massive. And as a local bank, it's always been our prerogative to compete globally. So we have to think global and implement local. And that's always been the standard at which we've operated. So when we look at digital, in fact, we're currently busy, we're quite excited with a large-scale digital program. And it's not just about the technology, it's the interface between technology and people, be they our customers, be they our employees, making sure that we don't get too stuck on the technology aspect and you don't really expand it to more than technology. Because we've always prided ourselves on being a relationship bank. So we really believe in building partnerships and relationships. So we had to ask ourselves, in a digital world, how does that transcend? How do you not lose the personal touch, but at the same time, you introduce technologies that are going to enhance client convenience. So it's been a balancing act. We're quite excited. We have invested substantially. We are busy with a program, and I can probably mention at a very high level, it's circa $500 million of digital investment in digital transformation across the group. So this is something we embrace. We're excited by it. It's challenging, but I think that's the way to go. But as I said earlier, it's not about the digital only. It's about everything around digital. We've also been at the forefront of sustainability finance. As you may have seen, we were the first bank in Southern Africa to launch a green bond. And it's what makes me so proud is these are Namibians making these ultimate decisions. So in the Capricorn Group, there is no other country you go to. These are all ideas that are homegrown, that come from Namibian people, and we can be so proud of that. So we launched the green bond.
I remember that photo.
Yes.
On the NASDAQ. I mean, it was just, at first I thought, can this really be true? Are we actually there? It was a wonderful moment.
Yes, and it comes from that belief that we can do it, And we are never challenged by the fact that we are Namibian. We believe, because we are Namibians, we can go so much further. So green financing has been an area that we've differentiated in. And to your earlier point, it's not, we don't make excuses for being Namibian. We have to be competitive. We cannot expect consumers and customers to support us only because we're Namibian. They must support us because we bring value that makes sense, that resonates with them. And that's really our belief. And that's our vision, that we are able to create sustainable value for Namibians. And on that note, we are also the largest lender in this country. So by virtue of our credit process, which we think is very competitive, we have helped quite a few Namibian businesses grow. And through that, we've also contributed to the economy.
Baroness, a last question,
Yes.
a little bit on the personal side,
Yes.
if you don't mind. You were one of the first women to be appointed
Yes.
as the head of a banking institution in Namibia.
Yes.
How important is it that women play that role too?
Yes, I think it's, there's this proverbial glass ceiling. And I think it's a statement that glass ceiling can be broken and that women can also add value. And I've got 4 women in my team, and the perspective that women bring to business is very important. It's different, it's refreshing, and it's unlocking new ways of thinking about the customer. Because we found that most of our customers are also women. So it resonates with a large component of your customer base, also when you include women. We love men, we love having men around, but we also celebrate women and what women can bring. And fortunately, the industry has opened up. I think I was the first woman to be appointed the managing director of one of the big 4 banks.
That's right.
Yes, and therefore, and you've seen what's happened subsequently.
Yes, we have.
So I think we're able to pave the way
Yeah.
for more women to access these roles and to demonstrate that women can add value and do add value. And when it comes to business, we're very serious. But when it comes to family, when it comes to community, we're also very serious.
Baroness, thank you very much for joining us. We wish Bank Windhoek and the larger group only the best going forward. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Baroness Hans. She is the Managing Director of Bank Windhoek. Last but not least, in today's Kletskompas birthday studio is Nico du Plessis. He's the Managing Director of Plastic Packaging, who also celebrates its 40th birthday this year. Welcome, Nico.
Oh, thank you, Marie.
Plastic packaging. In a nutshell, tell us about the past 4 decades and what you specialize in.
It's quite a long story to talk 4 decades, and I have to say in the beginning I wasn't there. So born 84, but it came back from 1982 when we were actually born out of CIC.
Really?
And they decided that they're going to buy a few extruders, machinery from Kroonster Melkerij.
So I remember that. Now I'm really giving away my age.
Can you remember? It's before my time, like I said, but that's the stories that I've heard. And then after a few years, obviously a lot of school fees that was paid over the years, we specialized in plastic manufacturing. And then subsequently we added the basket with other packaging material that is not actually plastics. And over the years we've also ventured into recycling because it's quite important, especially with the product that we sell, to also take responsibility in that area. We also ventured into Angola and South Africa. Because of the economies of scale, we know that in order to grow sustainably, we have to seek other alternative markets. So that was quite important for us as well. And I think a latest addition that we've got is the pipe manufacturing plant. And why that is quite important for us is because it completes the circular economy of plastics. because we manufacture our plastics, we recycle it in Okanya, and then that recycled material is then used again in a second product life cycle in the form of an agricultural pipe, plastic shopping bags, and so forth. So yeah, you can say, we plastic packaging, everyone think we're only in plastics, but we're not. We're in packaging, and that's in what we specialize. But we know the properties that plastics bring.
Yeah.
It's so important for us, for our customers, and that's why I think we can say that we specialize in that. Yeah.
Especially coming to the plastic issue, and you've already alerted to it. Just the word plastic nowadays get everybody's hackles up. But there is a distinct difference. Besides the recycling element, there is a difference between green plastic or plastic with a purpose and then just the massive disposable plastic. Where is your position in that?
So I have to say that I think I've learned sales over the years, coming from finance, but not to our detriment. I have to say that the best packaging is no packaging.
Wonderful.
If you don't need packaging, don't use it.
Exactly.
But there's a purpose that plastics bring, and you've got your conventional plastics, and there's a lot of things happening in the market with biodegradable, compostable. But to be honest, it's a minefield. Currently, there's no silver bullet for plastics and the solution for it. We know that we in Namibia need to take responsibility in terms of completing the circular economy, recycling plastic and put it back into second product life cycle. And that is which creates also sustainability for our business as well, taking that responsibility. But definitely our view is that we need to use as less as possible. And then we also need to make sure what our customer need is, so that we can marry that basically with a packaging need that's specifically tailor-made for that product, and for that need. So yeah, our view is that plastics in a form is a fantastic packaging material. They actually said that in the 1900s it was referred to the miracle material, and in this century it's actually now the problem. So, but definitely we still believe in the properties that it brings, and the clients need it, but we need to do it responsibly, and that is our view. Yeah.
Well, I think that there's nothing more that one can expect of a company than to be aware of the issues and to address it as sustainably as possible. In terms of your future plans, what can we expect?
Okay, we've got a lot of plans. Okay, but I think one of the biggest plans is that we need to have and to ensure is that we could grow sustainably and responsibly. So definitely we've invested in our factory quite heavily. We are a food certified factory now. We've got our certification this year, and we've also made way for new investments for new machinery. So we're investing in the latest technology, co-extrusion. So we're happy to say that we can give our customers even a better product, and this machinery will enable us to make the plastic bit thinner, using less, and having the same properties that we bring to the customers in terms of the product that they need. So definitely, with machinery investment, food certified factory, we're also looking to export even more to South Africa, expanding that market. The market is huge for us. I mean, if you take about 2.5 million, the population that we have, the South African market is huge. For us. So there's a lot of opportunity for us to grow and use our Windhoek-based plant to export to countries like Angola and in South Africa.
How difficult is it for in the regional context for a relatively small Namibian company to be able to penetrate markets like that?
It is difficult, definitely. As Ian said, especially being here in a small local economy and competing in international front, it is difficult. But we've seen that a good product and good service, normally ends first. So we know that if we can keep on doing by supplying our customers with the best packaging need, with good service, that we will be able to penetrate. So definitely service is one thing, that especially with packaging, because it's not a commoditized product. You need to go to the client and you need to spend specific and understand his need in order to marry that, like I said, with the packaging need. So, and if you do that properly, and you've got the expertise I believe we have, you can do it. So, you know, I'm very excited for the period that lies ahead for us. Yeah.
Ian, wonderful to talk to you. It's great to see optimism once again in the local economy and the future. We wish you and your company the best. And ladies and gentlemen, that was Nico du Plessis. He is the Managing Director of Plastic Packaging. Wat 'n manier om heldevieringe môre af te skop. 'n Mens kan nie anders as om na 'n kletskompas soos hierdie te kyk en te luister en te sê, ja, ek is trots Namibies. Ek wil hê jy moet jou lang naweek geniet, wees veilig as jy ry en onthou elke enkele held in hierdie land wat 'n rol speel aan die bou van ons toekoms. Totsiens.